morning, Eddie.
Good morning. Thank you.
Well, here he is, smiling, beaming like a Cheshire cat. I'm not surprised. I know you're a very happy human being anyway. But the film is brilliant. You saw it in its entirety, in its fullest, finest glory last night at the premiere. What was it like seeing it in that guise for you for the first time? What was the night like? Tell us about the emotion. Mitch was there. You play Mitch, of course, Amy's dad.
Yes. It was a very emotional evening. It's a beautiful tribute to Amy, the film. And the last 10 minutes absolutely broke my heart. And I've read the script. I worked in it for 2 or 3 years, and the way Sam Taylor Johnson has just molded the whole thing. She's a real artist. Even the little bird that kind of represents Amy's soul in the film. It's a beautiful film, and Marisa is amazing.
So you saw the film, a roughish cut?
Before Nick Cave did the music and before he did the final song and before they put that in, and it was very good, but you kind of saw the assembly. And it was a test screening and it got very good scores, but then they go in and they tighten it up, and it's like any creative process really. It's about the final strokes, and I was amazed at what Sam had done with it by the time I saw it.
Wow, so much to talk about. Mitch was there, of course.
Yes.
How much contact did you have with Mitch before the film, during the film, last night?
I had lots of contact with him. He was my main point of reference. The way I act is I always research things. I'm more of a researcher than an actor, really. So I just asked him a load of questions about where he grew up, where he went to school, where his grandparents lived. I asked him about how he first met Amy's mum, Janice. I asked him to make a playlist of his favourite music. I always do that. Any character I play, they've got to tell me what music they play, what aftershave they wear. And he even sung Fly Me to the Moon for me. He even recorded it because I had to copy his voice. It was beautiful. The very interesting thing, when he recorded Fly Me to the Moon to me, at the end of it, he said, "There you go, love you." When I heard that, it broke my heart. I've got 4 teenage kids, and every time they leave the house or go to school, I say, "All right, have a nice day, love you." And when he said that to me, I realised his daughter's not there anymore, and he still has that feeling.
Yeah.
He still has that love, but there's nowhere for it to go.
Yeah, I mean, we all think we know the Amy story, but we really don't.
No,
this film really helps us out, though. It's got to be said. I didn't realise how... I mean, her dad was always in the picture whenever we saw the headlines.
Yes.
Or whenever we read a story about her. But other dads and mums have been in the picture to do with other famous people, sometimes good, sometimes bad, sometimes in between. She really did. I mean, he was her hero.
She loved her dad. Yeah. She absolutely adored
she loved
her
her mum and her nan. That all comes across.
Yes, she comes from a very loving family, a very loving, supportive family. It's really interesting when someone like Amy dies so young, who is so brilliant and has touched their lives in such a profound way. There's a kind of collective trauma. And we try to make sense of it. And the way we make sense of it is we find someone to blame.
Yeah.
And you blame the dad or you blame the husband. But addiction doesn't need dysfunctionality. We all know addicts who come from the most functional, loving families, and people still die of addiction. So she came from a very loving, supportive family, truth be told. But she still died of addiction.
Yeah, because he was like... you are right. I mean, the arrow of blame was often pointed at him because he just always seemed to be around. And the sort of subtext was he's trying to steal the limelight. He's trying to manage her. He's trying to dominate her. He's trying to monopolise her. But, there are scenes in the film which I'm sure were true or as close to being true as because I know that Sam wouldn't want to get it wrong.
Yes.
She's like, we've had clips from her talking to us last night on the red carpet about the fact she just kept Amy in mind all the time. Got to be respectful to Amy and her family. Is this what have happened? Is this fair? Blah, 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 blah. And there's a pivotal meeting at the record company when her dad comes to her rescue. More than once, but this was a really important moment.
Yes, and a friend of mine worked at the record company. Do you
want to set the scene if you don't mind?
Well, yeah, in the record company, they go and see it, and they tell her that Frank has done very well the first album, won all these awards, but it's not big enough to go to the States with, and they want her to make another album, and they want her to work on her stagecraft because she used to play the guitar, and she was very shy, and she hid behind a guitar, and they wanted to get her personality out there. They wanted to get someone else to play the guitar, and Amy took umbrage with that. She was offended by that, and Mitch comes in and says, "Look, I think these blokes know what they're doing.
Yeah.
We should listen to them." He was a very, I mean, I've got 4 teenage kids. I love my kids and I make mistakes all the time.
Yeah.
Mitch was very honest to me about the mistakes he made, but you can't deny that he loved his daughter.
Yeah. And he was always in his taxi, wasn't he? And it was so funny because she was very rich in the end.
Yeah.
And her estate still is, immensely profitable. But he just always drove his taxi. Did you ask him about that? Because he didn't. I imagine he didn't need to, but he just wanted to. Was it part of his identity? What was that about?
He said he loved London.
Right.
He used to be a double glazing salesman, and then he did the knowledge and became a taxi driver. And he just said, "I just love London," and drove around London. What Amy used to do, because he comes from the East End, Amy used to ask him to put her in a taxi and take him around the East End and tell him all the stories about the Jewish East End and how when he grew up and she used to go around it. Because there's something about Amy; she does look like a bit of a gangster's mole. You know what I mean?
Without question.
Yeah.
The Dublin Castle, which is a very famous, lots of people listen to the show will know about the Dublin Castle, but some won't. It's a very, very famous pub in Camden. The Good Mix is also a very, very famous pub in Camden. Were you at the real pubs for the filming of those scenes?
Yes, we were. Yeah. They filmed it. I didn't do any scenes there, but we did scenes in Amy's flat. Amy's actual flat. Yeah.
And the house at the end, is that her house?
Yeah, that's the house.
Off Camden Square, isn't it?
Yes, that's
I know that. I know that.
Where the tree is outside.
I used to live in Camden Villas, which is the next road along.
Yeah.
It's so good. Again, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. I think, biopics can go one way or another, can't they? And they can be, sometimes they end up being beige just because they don't want to get things wrong, but to their own detriment. I think this film, honestly, I think it absolutely nails it. As much as we should be allowed to know about her. There's a line there as well. The film really starts to fizz. When she's in the Good Mixer, she's on her own, she's having a few pints, she's already got a record deal, and then this geezer walks in called Blake, and he's just had a win on the horses, and he's talking to himself at the bar, and already she takes one to know one. This is a different kind of spirit that's just entered the pub, and then it just takes off. And I didn't realise the kind of charisma that Blake has. And I just didn't understand. Of course, it would have taken somebody so special and so magnetic to garner her attention to the extent it did, a lifelong love affair.
Yeah.
Just speak to that if you don't mind, Eddie, a bit.
I think the courage of Sam as a director and Matt the writer is that they didn't want to go for this binary narrative of both Mitch and Blake being the villains.
Yeah.
What Sam wanted to do with the idea of Blake, she wanted to see why Amy fell in love with him.
Yeah.
Because the film was shot from Amy's perspective. And as an audience member, I mean, my wife and my daughter said, Jack O'Connell plays such a brilliant role in this. He sings Leader of the Pack. Yeah. And the way he sings it, every woman in that cinema thinks, God, I'd fall in love with him. Yeah. And that's what you should do, because you should be in Amy's shoes. You're going on Amy's journey, It isn't about demonising these people. You can see why she loved them.
He's on it. He owns it, doesn't he? That scene around the pool table.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. It's so, so good. Other loves of her life. Her mum, you mentioned her dad, of course, Mitch, you played Mitch. Her nan.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Oh, well, her nan was one of the main reasons why she loves jazz. Her nan used to go out with Joe. He used to go out with Ronnie Scott when they were teenagers, and Ronnie Scott used to invite the family to every time they had a big jazz singer at Ronnie Scott's, they used to get tickets. So the whole family were immersed in jazz, and Amy's nan loved jazz, Mitch loved jazz, and that's why even in the documentary you see her as a young child with this incredible jazz-like voice, is because she grew up listening to it.
Yeah.
And her nan was the Lioness. When she had Lioness Records and the album Lioness, it was because of her nan.
And even when she was taking all the wrong things, the substances, there were more jazz substances than other substances.
Yeah, she always says, I'm not rock and roll, I'm not a Spice Girl. She was a jazz singer.
Yeah, the Spice Girl that I mentioned really early on. Oh, God, that made me chuckle, that did. When she went to America, so she sort of elopes almost with Blake.
Yes.
And there's a scene, I don't know, we can't really give anything away because we know most of the story, so I suppose it's all right. And I don't think it'll ruin anybody's enjoyment of the film. So she's in America, she gets married without telling anybody to Blake.
Yes.
And then she calls her dad.
Yes.
So did you speak to Mitch about that phone call?
I did. I spoke to Mitch about about the relationship with Blake, and how they could tell that their daughter was in love with him, but they knew that it wasn't, that they were both in a kind of a dysfunctional drug adult relation. Yeah, codependent. So he kind of, but what can you do? Your daughter's in love, and she's an adult. There's not much you can do. Yeah. The family tried 9 interventions. They tried to get her sectioned, and they tried to get her help with medical help 9 times. Yeah. And no one knew that. Everyone thinks that the one song, Rehab, means that the family didn't want to help her, and it's not true.
So there is another phone call in the film. There is another moment where she calls her dad and she says, "Dad, please take me to rehab," and he can't believe.
Yes, yeah. And that was at the point where Blake gets clean in prison, and then she says, she sees Amy always wanted to be a mum, and she's in Bar Italia in Soho, and she sees a little boy, and she decides, "Dad, take me to rehab," and he takes her, and she gets clean.
And what's the timeline there, if you don't mind, Eddie?
I don't know.
Ish.
She was 2 years or 3 years sober by the time she died. Right. So not well. She was clean of drugs by 2 to 3 years.
Right.
And then the way poor Amy died was she had a binge drinking session the night before she died, and her body gave up then.
Because it was so weak.
But it was so weak. But also she'd suffered from other conditions from about the age of 15.
Right.
So she just damaged her body.
What's wonderful about the film is just revisiting her genius.
Yes.
Because we forget. I mean, we play Amy Winehouse all the time on the show, all the time on the station. I put Amy's album on last night, Back to Black, in a bit, not dissimilar to how you did to get me in the mood for today.
Yes.
And making the pasta for the boys last night who are in today. We had Back to Black on, and you're so good. This is so good. Yeah, and Frank was so good as well. But it's we think we remember, but we don't.
No, you don't, because when you also understand the context behind it, it makes you appreciate it even more, doesn't it? Yeah.
And what about the Mark Ronson chapter when she goes over and she works with Mark Ronson? What did Mitch say about that, about Mark?
Well, that was Ray, really. That was her new manager who got him in.
Right.
But he was a fantastic manager. The friend of mine who worked with Amy at Island Records said that Ray was a brilliant manager.
Where did he come from? Because he appears in that meeting.
Yeah. He was her promoter, right, and then became her manager.
Right.
But he was great at taking care of her. He really looked after her, and he introduced her to Mark Ronson. And the way that whole piece where she sings Back to Black and Marisa sings there, and that's real Marisa's voice. It's not Amy's voice, which as an actor I really admire, because she's got the courage. She can't stop. She's not going to suddenly play a brilliant part and then start miming. She wants to infuse
which would be
that,
weird, wouldn't
which
it?
would be weird and fake and not authentic.
You'd lose the audience.
Yeah, you'd lose them 100%. And when she sings Back to Black in the film, that breaks your heart as well.
Now, you're also in something else.
I am, yeah. Okay. I'm always in something else.
Back to Black, Back to Black, Back to Black, Back to Black, Back to Black. I've seen it. Eddie's in it. He's seen it. It's out on Friday. The whole world's going to see it. But you're also in something else on Apple TV Plus. Is it continuing? Is it already on this?
It's coming out on the 12th, same day as Back to Black. It's called Franklin.
All right.
Michael Douglas. Yeah.
All right. Now it stars Michael Douglas as Benjamin Franklin and you as founding father John Adams. No pressure there, Eddie.
No. But they actually signed me to play John Adams like 15 years ago.
Right.
And I went and did a screen test. I went and met Tom Hanks in Santa Monica, and then I signed the contract. I went and did a screen test in Virginia, and then they shelved the project. And 6 months later, Paul Giamatti, who was a friend of mine, he got the part, and he was brilliant and won Emmys. But the writer remembered me, and when they were doing this, he sent me an email, said, "Will you play John Adams now opposite Michael Douglas?" Wow. So I jumped at the chance.
Hang on a minute, there's so much to it. You just said so many names there. So Tom Hanks, was he producing at the time?
Tom Hanks was producing.
Because he's got his production company, which is named after 2 streets in Hollywood, I think, isn't it? Something like that. And Paul Giamatti, well, he's great. Did you just say he's a friend of mine? Yeah,
we were doing a film together called The Illusionist.
Oh, wow.
And I said to him, why don't they get you to play the part of John Adams? He said, they'll never get me, Eddie. They're going to get someone like you.
Have you seen The Holdovers?
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Isn't it incredible?
It's so good.
God,
it's such a good film.
That's fantastic. I love the bit when the kid says about his eye. Which one am I supposed to look at? We all had a teacher at school with a dodgy eye, and we never knew which one he was looking at.
Yeah, you never know to say anything or not about it. Have you seen The Holdovers yet?
No.
Oh,
it's a brilliant film.
You still got it to watch. I'm jealous. So Benjamin Franklin, didn't he fit like 10 lifetimes in one, even back then when it was harder to do?
Yes.
Didn't he come over here and live here for a bit?
Yeah, he lived here for a bit, and then when I went back to the US, and then
went
went back
Paris
to
as well,
went to Paris. The whole thing's set in Paris.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, Franklin is all set in Paris. It's basically Benjamin Franklin in Paris.
I thought I'd imagined that, but that happened.
Yeah, that did.
And he came. Didn't he study at university or something here?
Yeah. He studied because he lived here for a long while because they considered themselves Englishmen before the War of Independence.
Right.
And then he went over to Paris to raise money. The whole story is about raising money from the French to raise money for the colonists for the War of Independence for the Americans, really.
So you played opposite Michael Douglas.
I did play.
You hung out with Michael Douglas.
I did, mate. He hung out with me. If I'm fair.
Yeah. What's he like as a hang? What did he think of you as a hang? What was the hang like?
It was great. I mean, Danny Mays is in it. Danny Mays
Danny
plays.
Mays is one of our favourites.
Yeah, so me and Danny were saying, no matter what scene you do a scene with Michael Douglas and you be in character and you try and hold the character, and then every time you did a scene, part of you went, oh my God, it's Michael Douglas.
Yeah.
You can't stop it. But he's lovely. He was so supportive. He's very similar to Tom Hanks in that way. He understands how famous he is. He understands the status he has in the room, and he takes steps to put you at ease.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he's lovely
cool.
like that.
It's cool. Now Sam Taylor. Is she Sam Taylor Wood now or Sam Taylor?
Sam Taylor Johnson.
So sorry, Sam Taylor Johnson. So Sam Taylor Johnson. She lived, or maybe still does live, very close to Amy's stomping ground.
Right.
In Camden.
Right.
Did you know about that?
Yeah, well, I know that they had mutual friends. Yeah,
and there's that great scene on top of Primrose Hill and all that. Oh God, because I used to live around there, and when they they make quite a lot of movies, don't they, around there? And they now and again they close up Primrose, and you think, oh, what are they making now? And and then I was around there. When did you make this film?
What's in the 2023, the beginning of 2023, yeah.
Oh, right, so it's quite a quick turnaround for a movie.
Yeah.
I was thinking, was it closed one day when you were making this? I don't know. And The Good Mixer, I think it's in Inverness Street, which is still there. The pub is still, the pool table is still there.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's the same pub they use in Withnail and I, isn't it?
I think so. I don't know.
Yeah, pair of pints. I think that's the phrase we're looking for there. Eddie, what was it like last night during the film? How did it go down? Was there standing out at the end? How did you? Because you can get a vibe in the room, can't you?
Oh, there was an amazing vibe in the room.
Yeah.
I mean,
was it crazy on the red carpet?
Yeah.
A mad one.
Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting. I've been in this business for 30 odd years now, and you can sense a big film.
Yeah.
But I think the public have kind of an attachment to this narrative of Amy, and they love Amy, and the interest in this film is amazing, really. It's a big movie, but when Nick Cave, he's written a song for Amy at the end when the credits come up, and it just says the end of the film, you're already bereft, and then he plays this song. Oh, it breaks your heart.
Well, it's funny because I couldn't go to a screening, and I really couldn't go last week, and we checked, and I couldn't make it work, and the kids and families, everything, and this kind of stuff, and I didn't think I was going to get to see it, and then the film company very courteously sent me this link yesterday, and I watched it, and because I'm watching it on the laptop, which I know is not ideal, but it's better than not watching it at all. I'm so glad I did. I'm looking at how long's left, and I'm thinking, how far do they go here? Sure, do they go to the Amy's ultimate end? And I'm thinking, there's not enough time left. And of course you do.
Yeah.
Because I forgot, it just literally falls off a cliff, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Because I'm thinking, is it a two-parter? Because I forgot. Do you know what I mean? I hope I'm not being...
No, not at all. Not at all.
You go, oh yeah, no, because it happens so...
Yeah.
I was thinking, when did she sort of take a hit again? When did she fall off the wagon? But she didn't fall off the wagon. I mean, ultimately she did because of how she died. But there wasn't this public demise, was there? Again,
no.
She was clean. She was successful. She bought this beautiful house.
Yeah, Mitch showed me a photograph of her 2 weeks before she died, and she was the picture of health.
Yeah, she looked
so
the movie.
well. Yeah.
Oh wow! I'm not surprised you're all in buckets because of the fact it creeps up on you.
Yeah.
I mean, and we all know it's coming. Oh. I wasn't sure in the end, but it is such a shock still, and it always amazes me how brilliant directors, producers, and writers and actors, and the whole company get together and deliver something we know is going to happen, but still shocks us.
Yeah.
That's the genius of it.
Well, I think the reason this works is because it challenges. There's a pervading narrative, and this subtly challenges that narrative.
Yeah.
What this film does, it makes you realise it doesn't make her a victim. You celebrate her brilliance,
Yeah.
and also you have incredible compassion for people with addiction and their family.
Yeah. Did you talk to mum and dad after?
I did. When I met I'd never met Janice before, Amy's mum, and when I met Janice, I almost cried when I met her.
Bet you did.
Because although everybody has ownership of Amy, and it's something we all value, actually you forget that she's someone's daughter.
Yeah.
And when you meet the family, they're there, and there's a massive premiere and people taking photographs, and these people are there and they've lost their daughter.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, that I found that quite moving. Yeah.
And how were they?
They were good. We're going to a private screening on Wednesday for the family, and to spend some time with them privately and watch the film, which I'm really pleased to do. She's lovely. She's an incredible woman. Amy's mum. She's got two degrees. She's a chemist.
Yeah.
She's really intelligent, really bright woman. Fantastic.
Well, congratulations, Eddie.
Thank you very much.
It's absolutely marvellous. The film is marvellous. Back to Black. It's out this Friday, April the 12th. And if you got some spare eyeball time, then check out a bit of Franklin as well. Why don't you do that? I'm really interested in that. I think that's amazing. And Apple TV Plus, they're rocking as well. Have you seen The Gentleman?
I have seen The Gentleman.
Okay,
yes.
So is that a tick? Is that a tick for you? You happy with that one?
Well, I'm in the original. I'm in the film.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I did. I love Ray in it. Ray's fantastic.
Yeah.
And Theo is. Theo looks amazing, doesn't he?
I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think it's great. What else? Have you seen the final episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, which was out yesterday?
No, I haven't. I haven't seen the final one.
You had a busy day
yet.
yesterday.
Yeah.
I didn't. I've got no excuses, so I didn't see that either. What else? Have you seen Ripley?
Yes, I love Ripley. Ripley's good. Isn't Andrew Scott fantastic, isn't he?
Do you know him?
Yeah, no, I don't know him, but I'm just in awe of him.
Have you seen all 8 episodes then?
Yeah, it's all in black and white. It's all missing.
I've seen 4.
It's beautiful.
It's good at the moment, isn't it, Eddie?
Yeah.
Good for you. Anything else you want to talk about before you go?
No, I'm good.
I want to talk to you about humanism.
Oh, yes.
You're a humanist, aren't you?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, let's talk about that now, not on the radio. Here's James, brand new from James, Our World. Back to Black out this Friday, starring Eddie and the gang. It's an amazing biopic. They've absolutely nailed it. They've come as close as they could do to representing Amy and everything that went on around her without going far enough than would be appropriate or respectful. I think that's about it. Cheers, Eddie. Thank you.
Virgin Radio.